Are the crypto and trad markets cooked? Let's dive in and talk about it. Starting out with Bitcoin here at the bigger picture first, we're on the daily. Primary count here in both cases is that we have a motive wave here in the form of a diagonal, and then we have a corrective move here in the form of a zigzag as a wave 2 or the wave B. So the bullish count is going to be that we have a 1 here, 2, and then we have a 1, 2 setting up before we get continuation up. There are many other counts. This could be some kind of A, B, C coming in, and we're moving up in some kind of flat. But I think right now, visually, and the right look and some other Elliott Wave guidelines, I think the best count right now is having this as a 1, 2, 1, 2, just because of the duration of time and, again, the right look. So this is the primary level here is 74K, let's say. Nice area of interest here between the 50 and the 618. And then we have this nice level of interest as well that we could look for to play off of. So that's what I'm watching for. If we do end up correcting nice and slowly down into here, that's great. If we end up breaking down again, it's still a possibility that the bullish interpretation could play out. Final invalidation is down here at 65K. So that's the line in the sand for the bulls, in my opinion, where things start looking different. Again, if 60K ends up holding, then we can go back to the possible flat scenario. But for right now, I think the right look is a 1, 2 setup, pending a print of this price action when it comes down. For the bearish side, again, we have a shared motive wave and a shared corrective wave here, and then we get a secondary motive wave here in the form of a wave C potentially. And again, just like last week, we were looking at this, we're hitting more of the bearish clues to build our case than we are bullish. We're hitting the 1-to-1 off of this motive wave and off of the corrective wave to make this to hit a most likely target for a zigzag. The PA is held within a base channel or corrective channel here. We just have a few little poke outs. Market can be messy, so little pokes through doesn't mean that's break of anything there. And then we're hitting and reacting to some algos from up at this pivot up here. So there's a big confluence box here that we were playing off of to consider that this was going to be more of a bearish setup than a bullish. And the bulls had something to prove. And right now, obviously, they haven't proved that very well. So again, I did take a short up here just because of all this confluence, ready to take a stop. That's how trading works out. You're never going to know 100% of the time what's going to happen, but it's all about risk reward and relying on your methods. Still in a short here. I got stopped out of my short-term long there, so I'm watching how this develops here at the larger degree. But right now, again, we're still having this look of it being more bearish than bullish. So bears definitely have a lot more in their corner than bulls do when it comes to the look of this. And when we start getting into correlations, I think the bears have a lot more to stand on as well in that situation too, but we'll talk about further in the video. So what am I watching now from here? Let's go ahead and dive into the 1 hour and see what we're looking at the smaller time frame. The level we were keeping an eye on last week was 79.5, and it ended up coming back down, reacting to the tick and bouncing up, but we couldn't break that high. So we made some lower highs and lower lows here. And then we finally got a break of that level, and it actually flipped here at the smaller degree. So as you can see, it's been powerful in the past, resistance, support, and now play at resistance at the smaller degree. So this level is still going to be on watch here. If we look at this from the bullish eyes, you can still say that this point of interest or pivot of interest here at 75K is still in play. So anything that's internal to this move could still just be a corrective move before we get continuation up and out. And that's valid at this point. I think we ended up coming down corrective nice and pretty here. So there's no reason that we would have thought anything besides the sub count in here being a little sus. This looks like a nice corrective move internally. And then we got to pop up. This would have been ideal if we finished as an impulsive move up and then corrected back to this level and then some continuation. But unfortunately, that didn't play out. So now we have to consider this move, which is an impulsive move that breaks not only our level of interest here, but a pivot of interest here. We have to start considering that there's a change in delivery here and that we're going to potentially start moving down. Now, of course, when we get an impulsive move to the downside, that could be attached to many things. We always have to look to the left and see what's to the left of us, or left of the impulse. So this could go both ways. Again, we don't have a clean count here as to what this is. This looks more corrective And this whole move up has been looking more corrective, which again harkens back to either this is some kind of sharp corrective move to the upside, or we got some kind of diagonal coming in here at the smaller and larger degree. There's a lot of possibilities just because of all these zigzags stacked on each other here, what this could actually be. We don't have a clear count in here. So that's why I'm leaning a little bit more toward general rules of Elliott Wave and price action here and algos as well. Just rearrange my tools and use what's actually working. When it comes to the clarity of the Elliott Wave in this, it's suspicious. So basing it off of clear Elliott waveforms is not the ideal method, in my opinion, at this point. We are looking for this, like this is some kind of motive move, and that we're in a motive range here, and that we're correcting internally. And this does look corrective, no doubt. We're coming into an area of interest here, and we have a little bit of a smaller degree support resistance line here as well. So this could be a turning point. It looks like we might have one more leg down for the wave 5 at the lesser degree, but we do have a decent looking impulsive, potentially complete move at the moment. And it's all going to be about what happens from here. So just like we have the 50 and 618 AOI here, we're going to have the bearish interpretation as well. So the bearish interpretation would be this is the top at 83K, and now we're coming down for a larger move to the downside. All these legs look corrective. There's no really impulsive move that sticks out. This could be some kind of diagonal here, and then we get a corrective move within there, and then we get a move down. So is this a 1-2, 1-2? This still has to play out for us to be confident in that. But right now, I'm just looking at this impulsive move down and how I can play this. So the first thing that has to happen here is we break some of these pivots, proving that this internal move, this to the wave 5 is done. And I'll put some labels on here real quick. So without getting too granular, again, this is the count I would look at now on the conservative side. We got some junk in here, so it could be a 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. But it's all going to be about this pivot break up here at 79.5, and how we're going to break that. So right now, it looks like we're pumping up now. If we end up breaking this level, I would say that this 4 is done and that we're coming in for the larger degree 4, if there is one, if not for an internal retracement to this impulsive move leg down. So getting back to the bearish side, again, I think we have to keep an eye on this area as well, 80.7, where things fall apart. If that ends up breaking up and it comes up impulsively, I think we're more likely done with this move and that we're moving up into a larger move that's going to potentially end up breaking some of these pivots. So if we send up an impulse and then we end up correcting back down to this level, let's say, and moving up, then I think we're going to end up breaking some of these pivots. If this comes back all correctively and ugly to our level of interest, our area of interest, I'm going to be looking for a short entry at this point. So we have a couple factors going. We'll see if this golden zone breaks and we end up rolling down even further. But the main level of interest here to keep an eye on is going to be 79.5. And I'm going to see how price kind of approaches that level. But that's it, and that's what I'm watching for on Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and dive into the correlated assets. So last weekend on the ES, we were looking for this level to hold at 73.71, and we were looking for a continuation to the upside to hit our most likely target for a wave 5, and we've done that exactly. One thing I wanted to point out here, though, is that the slope between the potential wave 5 and the potential wave 3, or the proposed wave 3 here, is that we are not moving up as swiftly as we were in the wave 3. The slope on this is 55 degrees, and the slope on this move up here is 34. So we're definitely losing the strength and momentum and the swiftness of the moves between the motive waves, which would have us lean toward either that this is going to be a wave 5 or a potential for a wave 1 or something to that effect. But this is what typically happens in an impulsive move. You're going to see the swiftest move in the wave 3 correction, and then the wave 5 is going to print, but it's not going to print as swiftly unless it's extending. So in a sense, we are extending. We have waves that are offsetting these at the same degree. At least it looks like the same degree. So it's needing in that fashion, but we're not getting that swift extension. So the wave 5 is still shorter than the wave 3 at this point. So there's a lot of indications here at the larger degree, at least, that we're slowing down and we're getting into wave 5 territory. Now, if this is the top, I'm not 100%. We're going to dive in a little bit, but from this angle, it's looking pretty good that we're going to have a correction maybe not all the way down to zero or anything, but at least internal correction to this level here. And that's what I'm keeping an eye on for now at minimum. It all depends on how we play this out. Let's go ahead and dive into the smaller time frames. So down here on the 1 hour, as you can see, I put a bunch of wave 4 most likely targets here on the chart. I believe there's a possibility that we could be coming down for a larger degree wave 4 before we get one little peak up or truncation or something here. Again, keep in mind that we have a potential for a top here. So right now the direction is down. And if my count is off and we're done, we could still be going further down, breaking all these levels, and the way forward become invalidated. So these are just kind of clues of what I'm looking for to see if we are in a wave 4 still, or if we're done and we're heading down for a deeper retracement than a wave 4 at this degree. I believe we have finished a degree of an impulsive move up here. Again, this could be the top. We're done. It's all going to be on how the PA prints. So if we start breaking these impulsively, these levels of interest, and these fibs of interest as well, the likelihood of a wave 4 coming and still getting a move up become less likely. So these are the levels I'm looking at. And if you didn't know, most likely targets for wave 4, I have pretty much all of them here on the chart. We're looking for an internal retracement between the 236 and the 50 here as far as fibs go. We're looking for the previous wave 4 of the lesser degree to play as support, either the orthodox end of the wave 4 or the extreme, but the extreme is a little less likely to say. So we do have some levels to keep an eye on here. I think the furthest down I want to see this thing go, if we are still on the wave 4, is 73.38. If we start breaking past that impulsively, I'd say top in. For now, I have the temporary channel. We've broken the temporary channel, and then I have the time on here as well. Typically, again, we're looking for proportion in the markets, ideally. So we haven't hit any of that yet. This is a 618. That's one. A 1-to-1 is ideal. 1 to 618 is another spot to look. But we can go out to as large as 4 in time. But since this isn't a zigzag and it's kind of small in time, I wouldn't want to see this thing get too big and start rolling into a couple months from now. If that ended up happening, I would have to look to a larger degree, reconfigure my count. So looking for a wave 4 potential, if not done. So we have a pivot here. It's just at which degree is this pivot? And right now, the direction is down. I think we have a potential for an impulsive move, either just starting, or this could be the B wave and we're moving down for a wave C. But at the larger degree, I think there still is a chance. I think the wave count kind of lends a little bit closer to this being the count at the moment. It looks the prettiest, but sometimes pretty doesn't play. So that's what I'm looking for there. If we dive even deeper down to the 15-minute, you can see that we have a potential for a completed impulsive move down here in a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have a little correction here. That could be the B or the 2 wave. And then we're looking for continuation to the downside. We did already break the orthodox start of that corrective wave in an impulsive manner. So the direction is clearly pointing down at this point. But we do have some light support here that could play as support again. And we could look for a bounce. And that's what I'm watching for here, is how this is going to play out. This is a wave 3. I want to be in on this short. So what I would be looking for is on Monday, and it looks, just looking at BTC, I'm suspecting the ES is going to open lower, and then we're going to potentially, hopefully, come up and correct and fill that gap on Sunday, if not into Monday. But ideally, what we're looking for here is a second entry. I think we have enough on the plate here to say that this is an impulsive move down, internal correction, and that we're moving down further. So if we want to get in on this, again, we can try and catch this, but the risk reward isn't great. I'm going to be watching for a move down, potentially not too deep. If we end up opening up down at 73, I think the likelihood for a short or the risk reward is a little bit less, but we'll have to see how that plays, because right now, just based on the size of this, I'm looking for something a little bit smaller degree and quick. So if this is a 1 or an A, I don't care. I'm looking at this like this is a B wave or a 2 wave. I'm looking for that second entry here to take a short for some further downside. If we do end up coming up to the pivot at 74.75, that's our invalidation point at this. So on Sunday and Monday, I'm looking for a correction into here, potentially up to this level at 74.50 for a potential to get in on the further move down, whatever it may be. If it's going to be an A, B, C, and then we're going to continue on for a potential wave 4, or if it's the start of something that's going to go deeper, obviously I want to be a part of that, especially with the way that the markets have been running on the trad side. So 1-to-1 would put us in the area of interest that we're looking for between the 382 and the 50, with our last line in the sand here for probability being at 7338. With that, we'll look at the correlation real quick between ES and the DXY and Bitcoin. So when it comes to ES and Bitcoin here, we can see at this, right around the same time, we ended up getting the dump. And same thing follows over on ETH as well. We ended up taking more of the downside to the upside, and we ended up having divergence here between BTC giving lower highs and lower lows, and ES giving higher highs and higher lows. So the correlations are a bit skewed at this moment, except for on this dump. So definitely looking like BTC is more correlated to the downside than to the upside. And all of these pivots kind of hold true to that. When a pivot high is put in here at ES, we're getting the same kind of move here on Bitcoin, and we're getting the downside there as we did here. Same thing with this one, pivot here, move down there. And it's accelerated over on Bitcoin and crypto. BTC still bearishly correlated with the ES. DXY played a little bit differently than I was hoping from last week. We ended up coming down and bouncing off this level of interest that I was keeping an eye on. I was potentially looking for a break and hoping that this zigzag wouldn't steer us wrong and that we would continue on for at least a break of this level. And that didn't happen. As soon as the new Fed chair was announced, the DXY gapped up after the futures break. And then we came back down to kind of correct that and fill in that gap like we were watching for in the Discord. And then we got just a blast up, and that threw off all my correlated considerations that the DXY was going to move further, and that would push ES. ES moved up, disregarding the dollar moving up as well. So maybe we would have moved harder if the DX would have rolled over. But as you can see, the next day we ended up moving up with DXY and just blasting off. I do think that if we look at this a little bit closer on Friday, we can see when DXY broke this level at 98.575, we got to move up in DXY, and the ES started rolling over. So if DXY does decide to correct, then I think we might get some upside again for ES. And that's what I'm kind of watching for next week, is either the DXY is going to keep pumping and ES is going to keep dumping, or hopefully the DXY starts rolling over and ES takes that tailwind and starts moving up. So the headwind thesis that if DXY moves up, ES is going to move down didn't play 100% as far as correlated to the tick or anything, but potentially the DXY was playing as a headwind, and eventually it ended up snapping, and the correlations, I think, caught back up on Friday when we got that move up on the DXY and the move down on the ES. So I think there's still some correlation there, but it didn't play out tick for tick like I was hoping. So that's it for the correlations and what I'm watching for here for next week. I do think there's a potential that the top is in, but we have to see where we are. If ES keeps on dumping hard, obviously I'm going to lean on that being a wave 3, and then I'm going to be looking for some nice entries to the downside. But with that being said, let's go ahead and update the alts we were watching last week. Starting out with Chip here. Chip, we were watching for a potential top being in. At least I posted that on X. If you don't follow me there, I would definitely recommend checking that out. But we were watching for this to be a potential wave 5 ender, and we caught the top here with our chart. And we were watching for an internal retracement down to our area of interest and our level of interest here at 6 cents. We did end up coming down, and I think last week we had this impulsive move identified, and we were watching for an internal retracement before further down. But the bearish pressure was just too much, and we ended up breaking our levels of interest here and flipping them into resistance as we kept moving down. I did say in the Discord that we came down a little bit hotter than I'd like to see to our level of interest, and that the bounce was looking weak. We could put all these levels and all this stuff on the chart, AOIs, all that. Price is potentially going to reach there no matter what. It's just a matter of how they get there and how they react from there that really matter, and you can take clues off of that. So this bounce here, I didn't know 100% what was going to happen, but this looked pretty weak. And the main thing I was watching for was a break above our levels to kind of indicate that this was going to be a stronger move. And we ended up not getting there and rolling back over. And we did end up reacting and moving to the upside. But as you can see, we ended up spiking up. But we couldn't break above and hold this level here at 6.5 cents here. And we ended up rolling over and creating more resistance off of these levels of interest than support and just keeping on rolling over and stair stepping down. So we still haven't hit the official invalidation here. I think the key thing that I'm watching for now is if this keeps rolling over. Right now, the trend is down. So if you wanted to play this short, we'd keep an eye on this level. And if we get a corrective move back to this level, we keep playing it short until it goes to zero if it does. The bulls need to show some strength here, flip one of these levels, have an internal correction to that, correct to it, find it as support, or just blast through all these, come back to them, find support, and continue on before it raises an eyebrow for me again. The Elliott in here isn't the most ideal. I think there's a potential this could be some kind of diagonal coming in or something like that. But since that's unclear and that the trend is rolling over and facing down at the moment, that's where I'm looking at this point. So we're standing by here on chip. Got to show some strength to the upside. If you want to play bearish, I think these levels have been playing ideally. So either way, if we end up coming corrective to these, I'd be looking down. If we end up blasting them, there's a potential they could flip back into support and continue up and play as a bounce pad. So that's what I'm watching for here on chip. Let's go ahead and move on to ONDO. So looking here on ONDO, last week we were looking at price when it was right about here, and we were keeping an eye on these levels of interest as well. And as you can see, they've been playing as support and resistance as they've been coming down, but unfortunately it's been coming down and stair stepping down, finding these levels as resistance, breaking them, coming back to retest, finding them as resistance again and rolling over, and we keep breaking these levels of interest as we go down. So playing them would have been key move here. I'm sure there's some algos in here as well that we could have played, but there are some indicators that unfortunately this is moving down to the downside, and this looks a little more like a pump and dump situation on all these, unfortunately. But we still have one last bastion of hope for ONDO. It's 32 cents here. If we end up coming down here and getting a reaction at this point, it's all about getting proof from the market and from the bulls that they want this to change up and that we are just doing an internal correction. So the first thing I want to see from here, either we come down and touch this and we get a reaction, and that's the key. We're looking for reactions at this point. Again, price can eventually come down to your area of interest, but if it doesn't react from that area of interest, you don't really have a leg to stand on. So at this point, again, I'm watching for this level to be reclaimed by the bulls. If we can break up above here and correct to it, that might be something to consider here for a loan. But right now, the trend is down, and the pattern is we break a level, we find it as resistance, we roll over. And until that pattern breaks, I'm going to be looking for lower on ONDO until we get some proof, again, by the level breaking up and then a retrace to an area of interest and continuation. I'll just zoom out a little bit, can see where we're at. So we broke these levels. Again, we have some previous level of interest here, the last point, and then we'd be coming down here, which is getting a little bit deep and out of our area of interest for a typical retrace to the 50 to 618 or 65. So again, we could come down here and react off of this level and everything could be hunky-dory and we head up to all-time highs or whatnot, but we're getting into likely less ideal territory. And I need to see that reaction before I start getting hype here on any of these assets. Until that happens, and I'm going to be expecting us to keep rolling over. With that, let's go ahead and move on to SUI. So since all of these share mostly similar attributes as far as the price action goes, just to catch up here, we were talking about SUI here. We were saying that there's a possibility that could be a break because all the other assets that look like junk here to the left had been breaking out. And it was a possibility that SUI was next. It did end up coming up and then holding this level of interest at the smaller degree here and popping up. And then it came to our next level of interest. And as you can see, as it popped through and came back, it broke back under, it found it as resistance, and we ended up rolling over ever since. I think I posted last on X saying I wanted to see a break here of this lower high before I was convinced that there's a possibility for another move up. It did not break that level, and we ended up rolling over even more, breaking our main level of interest here. And the algos are no longer with us, unfortunately. So watching this level of interest and how we react, we don't have the algos on our side. But right now what I'm looking for is, again, the bulls to step in. We need to break this level at the lesser degree, get some continuation, come back up, test this level of interest at $1.17 and show us that the bulls want it. If we come up corrective, again, I'm going to be looking for this to play as resistance and dump over. If we get a nice swift move up, that's convincing. and we get an internal correction, that's when I'm going to start looking for a long. But again, since this all kind of looks the same as the other ones, I'm going to move on to the final one, which is PENGU, and we'll wrap this up. So here on PENGU, again, same kind of setup as the other ones. We came from some junk, we popped out, and then we were watching for an internal retracement here for a potential of a continuation if it was presented. I think when we started talking about PENGU, we were about here last week, and I did end up taking a short based off of this corrective move to the upside. So I saw a nice zigzag here to this supply level here, and I ended up taking a short, and I'm still in the short now, and I will potentially be taking some profit off here as well, because I think we do have an impulsive move completed here, and I think that's a possibility on the other assets as well. They're a little less clear, but I think this one's spelling it out for us that we have an impulsive complete. It's all a matter of what this impulse is attached to. Based on the length off of the primary actionary wave here and this here, we are down in wave 3 territory. Again, it is also a most likely target for a wave C as well. We did end up breaking the base channel here by a wee little bit. So if this is going to be a impulsive move down, I would expect an internal retracement, possibly up to the 0.009 cents here. And I'll be watching for a potential rollover for a wave 5 there. If this is a C wave, I think this is a good spot to look for a turn. We're hitting the AOI and we're hitting our LOI here as well, which is part of our AOI. So this is a decent spot to start looking for a reaction. Again, because of where we are, it's more of a potential that we could see a bounce here. And that if it comes up impulsive, I'll be looking for a C3 setup, at least to 0.009 cent mark. So I don't think all hope is lost on these quite yet, but I am playing these a lot more cautiously. Some of the uglier ones, I'm waiting for that reaction, and then an internal retracement or a break of a level as more confidence that the bulls have taken over and we have a change in delivery here. Until then, I think there's a potential this was a pump and dump, and that we were rolling over back to lower lows potentially. Going to leave it here. One last asset I want to look at here is Microsoft. So I have my most ideal trade entry model for C3 setups posted over on X, and this is hitting quite a few of those markers or things I look for when I'm looking for an ideal setup or a change in trend. We have a potential wave forward that's broken by the change of character with some displacement in the move. It leaves behind some fair value gaps. It looks like an impulsive move. And then we have an internal correction back to an AOI, which is the 15,618 area, closing up some of these fair value gaps, potentially getting the algos on our side, getting the levels on our side, and having everything lined up and work in our favor for some continuation to the upside. Obviously, that doesn't always work out. This is just ideal. One thing I was saying there is that we have the 400 level that could act as front runner for our area of interest. And it looks like we got that bounce out. Now, this still looks like this could be an ABC. So I'm still watching for a potential move down to this level in our area of interest for a potential sweep of liquidity and closing some of these gaps and everything, and getting the algos on our side and all that stuff lining up before I move up. If it does end up breaking some of these levels and we end up moving up impulsively, I'll be hoping for a nice clean impulsive move up. Then we get a nice internal correction back to this level of interest. So it'd be our second entry, and then we get a move up. So that's what I'm watching for here on Microsoft as well. If we continue this bounce up impulsively, looking for that internal correction for a potential second entry for continuation to the upside. And that's just what I'm seeing for now. As always, I'm just rolling with the waves as they print. If you have a different take or see something I don't, drop a comment below. I read them all. If you enjoy this kind of Elliott Wave and technical analysis breakdown, make sure to give me a follow and give me a thumbs up. I'm a lot more active on X. I would definitely recommend going and checking me out over there as well. And if you want to learn more about technical analysis and learn a little bit from over 40 years of combined expertise in the markets, I would definitely recommend coming over and checking out TradeDevils.com. We're doing some reorg in the Discord and some reorg on the site, but you can still come in here and check out the free white belt course here, see if you'll enjoy the delivery and enjoy the information that's held within this belt course, and then you can move on to the further belts and continue your education and technical analysis with us. But that's all I got for today. Trade safe, trade clarity. Take it easy. Later.